Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling one of the absolute most fundamental and honestly most misunderstood concepts in all of political science: liberty. So, whether you're a university student grinding through Chapter 8 right now, or you're just a curious mind trying to figure out how free societies actually work, we're going to decode the whole philosophy behind what it really, truly means to be free.
I mean, think about it for a second. Are you truly free? A lot of us just naturally assume freedom means zero rules, right? Just doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But are there like invisible boundaries to our freedom that actually keep society running? Think about something as simple as traffic laws. You aren't actually free to drive on the wrong side of the road at 100 miles an hour. And why? Because that restriction is what ensures the freedom of everyone else to travel safely. So as you'll see, this whole concept of liberty is a super complex balancing act between what we personally want and our social responsibility.
Okay, let's jump right into our roadmap for this explainer. First, what is liberty? Then we'll look at the two approaches. After that, limits and mill, followed by Marxist theory, then expression and belief, and finally we'll wrap up with some expected exam questions.
All right, starting off with Section 1, what is liberty? Defining the core concept.
So liberty isn't just this empty void where rules don't exist. It's not about that at all. In political theory, it's actually about cultivating a very specific environment. Think of it kind of like a garden. You wouldn't just toss a seed onto the concrete and say, hey, you're free, go grow, right? You have to provide soil, water, space. So liberty is defined as an environment where an individual can develop their personality without unnecessary restrictions. It means having the exact right conditions around you to grow into the person you want to be, rather than just being left totally alone in an empty room with absolutely zero resources. The absence of restraint, well, that's really only half the equation. The presence of opportunity, that's the other half.
Moving right along to Section 2. Two approaches, negative and positive.
Now, what's really interesting here is that there is a massive ideological rift in how freedom is actually applied. On one side of the ring, we have negative liberty. This is fundamentally freedom from. It makes the case that the government should just step back, intervene a lot less, and let individuals make their own choices without interference. Basically, just leave people alone. But on the flip side, we have positive liberty, which argues that just being left alone isn't nearly enough. Think of it like a giant foot race. Negative liberty says, hey, everyone is allowed to run. But positive liberty points out, well, wait a second, some of these people don't have running shoes, or maybe they haven't eaten in days. If you're uneducated or sick, are you literally free to succeed? So positive liberty demands that the state actually provide the resources, like education, healthcare, things like that, so you actually have the real capacity to exercise your freedom.
Let's move to Section 3, limits and mill, exploring the boundaries of freedom. Taking liberty to extreme ends is inherently dangerous. If you look at this, absolute, unlimited freedom, that quickly degrades into total anarchy. It becomes this chaotic state where the strong just overpower the weak, and ironically, almost everyone loses their freedom entirely. But conversely, if you try to organize society with excessive authoritarian government control, well, that completely suffocates liberty too. If the state manages every tiny detail of your life just to keep you perfectly in line, you're essentially living in a prison. So the survival and prosperity of literally any state relies entirely on finding this razor-thin, delicate balance between these two destructive extremes. And to find that balance, we rely heavily on one of the most famous political philosophers in history, John Stuart Mill, and his incredibly famous harm principle. Now, Mill was a fierce defender of individuality, but he recognized a crucial limit. The rule he laid out is elegantly simple, really. An individual's freedom can only be limited if it harms others. It's the old saying, right? Your right to swing your fist ends exactly where my nose begins. As long as your actions only affect you, the state has absolutely zero business interfering. But the millisecond your freedom causes harm to someone else, well, society has the moral authority and the obligation, honestly, to step in and stop you.
Next up is Section 4, Marxist theory, looking at the economic perspective. So the Marxist perspective completely shifts the lens over to economics. From this specific viewpoint, having a fancy constitutional document that grants you legal freedom is basically worthless if you're trapped in a vicious cycle of economic exploitation. If a worker is struggling just to survive week to week, working brutal hours for barely enough money to eat, they aren't truly free, regardless of what the law claims on paper. They are completely constrained by their economic reality. Here, the argument is that true liberty only exists when systemic economic and social exploitation are entirely dismantled. So to a Marxist thinker, you simply cannot have true political freedom without first achieving economic equality.
All right, Section 5, expression and belief, the very foundation of democracy.
In our modern society, all these philosophical theories we've been talking about really crystallize into two absolute foundations: the freedom to express your opinions and the freedom of belief. Look, without the ability to voice dissenting thoughts, criticize your leaders, or practice your own personal religious beliefs, the whole machinery of a democratic system just grinds to a halt. It stops working completely. Democracy relies 100% on the open marketplace of ideas. If citizens can't freely exchange thoughts and peacefully follow their own consciences, that society isn't just unfree, it literally ceases to be a democracy altogether.
Let's ground this in a reality we all navigate every single day: social media. Now, you absolutely have the right to post your opinions online, but let's apply Mill's harm principle to the digital age for a second. If that freedom is weaponized to spread disinformation that incites actual real-world violence or creates dangerous hatred, the state has a duty to intervene. Freedom of expression absolutely does not mean immunity from consequence. True liberty is never arbitrary and it's never reckless. It is inextricably tied to responsibility. You are completely free to speak, for sure, but you are not free to shout fire and ignite a panic in a crowded theater.
Time for a quick review, section recap, and memory trick, anchoring your knowledge.
To really anchor these concepts for your exams, I want you to use this strategic framework, LMME. L grounds us in the core definition of liberty. Remember that environment of growth we talked about. The first M represents Mill and his harm principle, which establishes the boundaries of freedom. The second M is the Marxist critique on economics and exploitation. And the E stands for the democratic bedrock of expression and belief. Seriously, lock this matrix in your head and it will help you instantly map out this entire philosophical landscape if you ever get stuck or blank out during a test.
And finally, section 6, exam questions. The expected university questions you need to know.
Based on everything we've just covered, here is exactly what you need to be prepared to answer. First, you must be able to explain the foundational meaning and nature of liberty. Second, you'll need to successfully contrast negative versus positive liberty. Third, be ready to articulate J.S. Mill's views on freedom and harm. Fourth, you should be able to break down the Marxist economic theory of liberty. And finally, you'll need to defend the importance of expression and belief in a democratic society. Master these 5 points, and I promise you, you are fully prepared for this topic.
I really hope this explainer helped decode the complexities of liberty for you. But before we go, I want to hear from you. Which political theory chapter is currently giving you the most trouble? What's keeping you up at night? Drop it in the comments below so we can tackle it in a future explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.